Good evening and welcome to the regular board meeting of the Carpinteria Unified School District School Board meeting for June 25th, 2024. Let's see here. We are going to begin with our flag salute. If everybody could please stand. Ready, begin? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Okay, we are going to start with C2, our closed session report. We had labor negotiations with non-represented employees, public employee performance evaluation, superintendent evaluation, and conference with labor negotiators. For 2A, information exchange, no action. Wait, no. Yeah, information exchange, no action taken. 2B, we approved the performance evaluation for the superintendent. And 2C, information exchange, no action taken. Moving on to C3, approval of the minutes. Do we have any questions from the board on the minutes of the regular meeting on June 11th? No? Okay. At this time, we will take public comment for the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting June 11th. Please feel free to step up to the podium now. Press the button so that the green light shows up, and you will have 3 minutes once you start. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome back, Ms. Diamond. For those who don't know me, my name is Jay Hotchner. I'm a Carpinteria resident, property owner, district parent and employee, and the husband of a district employee. This evening, though, I join you again in another very unique role in which I serve as the elected leader of CUSD's employees. I am the employee union president. As I do at almost every board meeting, I attend on behalf of the colleagues, faculty, and support staff who elected me to share their interests, their experiences, and concerns, and this evening is no different. In regard to the minutes of the June 11th board meeting, let the minutes show that Board Member Schaefer made a really wildly inaccurate statement that stood out for both its inaccuracy and misleading nature. Upon hearing the union's bargaining update, Mr. Schaefer stated, quote, there was an agreement to be had at the outset of bargaining in 2023 when the district offered a much better deal. Let the minutes show that at the outset of the 23-24 bargaining cycle, the district offered a 1% salary increase to district personnel. No more, no less, 1%. The district did not propose any further salary improvement until late spring of 2024, almost a year after the bargaining cycle began, when CUSD offered a 2% increase instead of the 1% it originally offered. And let the minutes show that all this took place after CUSD leadership had provided themselves a 5% salary increase in July of 2023, and there was no better deal to be had. I'm not sure what Mr. Schaefer is talking about, and there still isn't, which is why impasse was declared yesterday, and the paperwork was submitted to the Public Employment Relations Board just today. Let the minutes show at 2/17/35 that Ms. Fitzgerald, who you have trumpeted as a model of CUSD's highly professional administrative culture, and a true example it is, that she continued her most recent practice of calling public speakers either the ASS word or the ASS whole word while they address the board. Let the minutes also show that the union at around minute 2:04:50 attempted to ask district leadership why it is not sharing all the donations with the community that CUSD is required to notice the community and the school board. For example, why isn't district leadership sharing donations that would help fund surveying community members who do not send their children to CUSD for free, but instead choose to pay significant portions of their income above the taxes they already invest in the district to send their children to other expensive educational venues? Lastly, let the minutes show that once again, the data contained in the June 11th Superintendent's Report confirms a significant decline in student enrollment at Catalino Elementary. While this occurs in part based on the competing programmatic worlds of well-resourced DLI programs and under-resourced general ed programs.
Thank you. Your time is up.
That principal is going to
Thank
the middle
you.
school.
Your
Thank
time
you.
is up. Any further comment on the minutes of June 11th, the meeting from June 11th? Okay. May I get a motion to, a motion, please?
I'll move to approve the minutes of June 11th.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I abstain for not being present. Okay. C4, approval of the agenda and consent agenda. To be clear, on these items, according to the ACLU and many other agencies and organizations, and the consent calendar or consent agenda includes items deemed routine in nature. Items on a consent calendar will be considered as a block and voted upon in one vote unless a member of the legislative body pulls an item from the consent calendar for individual consideration later in the meeting. A member who votes in favor of the consent calendar is voting in favor of each item listed. A consent agenda or consent calendar, again, groups routine meetings, discussion points, or items into a single agenda item. In doing so, the grouped items can be approved in one action rather than through the filing of multiple motions. And I just want to mention that we actually are quite deliberate with how we, what we put and what we don't put in the consent agenda. Many districts also put the approval of the minutes in the consent agenda. They put approval of warrants in the consent agenda as long as there's nothing over a certain dollar amount. So it does not, these things are coming to the board for our approval. It is routine or non-controversial in nature. And if a board member feels that there needs to be any discussion, any further discussion other than approval of the item, they are able to pull it for another spot within the agenda so discussion can be had. I just want to be clear on what a consent agenda is and what it is not. So, with that said, any questions on the approval of agenda and consent agenda? Okay. Public comment on C4. Please step up to the podium now. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you, Ms. Diamond. That is an interesting and narrow interpretation of the consent agenda, but you hit on an important word, routine. Thank you. For the last few months, union leadership has reminded the district that it is misusing the administration of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency. We did so again at the last board meeting, or 2 board meetings back, when the district leadership used the consent agenda to slip through without public transparency an extended contract with the superintendent's anti-LA labor law firm. This is not a routine contract. We are bringing similar concerns about the misuse of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency once again this evening. It remains simple. The district is not permitted to load the consent agenda with items it has not brought before the community for mass approval. Or that it is not brought before the community, and it's not allowed to do that for mass approval, especially if the items aren't routine, as you suggest. This denies the community an opportunity to thoroughly examine the given topics and use the full measure of those procedures protected by the Brown Act to better scrutinize the decisions of this public entity. Union leadership is not saying the district cannot ever include the items in the consent agenda if they're not routine at some future time, but we are saying that CUSD has a responsibility to first bring each consent agenda item before the board and the public at least once at a regularly scheduled board meeting before the agenda is moved to the consent agenda for mass approval. It's interesting that tonight you chose to focus on that when there was only one item on the consent agenda, not on any of the evenings where there are many, many items on the agenda and many that are in violation of the Brown Act. Now, if we were to ignore this evening's procedural violations, this evening's consent agenda contains a worthy investment, a contract with Hearts of Angel. Although the union conceptually supports this item, that should not distract from the fact that it is a rare board meeting like this evening where district leadership does not squeeze in at least one, if not several, consent agenda items that deserve much more thorough and transparent examination and scrutiny, often without even a single question asked by any of the board members. For example, the extension of the contract on May 14th with the district's anti-labor LA law firm that you quoted, that you said, quote, was a local law firm, which walked away with several millions of dollars in recent years for facilitating the district's unsuccessful attacks on employees. So let's stick to the word routine. That's a really good one. Thank you.
So I'd also like to clarify that comments need to be directed specifically to items within that agenda item, not general or broad in nature. It needs to be specific to the item put forth for public comment. Thank you. Any further public comment on approval of the agenda or consent agenda? Okay. May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call.
Aaron.
Aye.
Sally.
Aye.
Jamie.
Aye.
And I'm aye.
Wonderful. Okay. We are moving on now. The board is honoring the following personnel who are retiring after meritorious service with the Carpinteria Unified School District. Gretchen Toffelmeyer, who is an amazing kindergarten teacher at Aliso for 27 years of service. And I believe we have Principal Weiberg here to speak to that.
All right, good evening. So my voice is a little off tonight, so I'm going to try my best not to cough, so hopefully we'll get through it. But good evening. I'm here tonight to honor Gretchen Toffelmeyer. Unfortunately, Gretchen could not join us as she's already off traveling and enjoying her retirement. This is not just marking the end of a career, but celebrating the legacy of a truly remarkable educator. After an astonishing 43 years in education, with 27 years in Carpinteria Unified School District and 24 of those years at Aliso School, Gretchen is finally setting off to a well-deserved retirement. Gretchen began her teaching journey at the age of 20. Her first job was teaching Spanish to kids at Crane School. From there, she moved to Santa Barbara Charter School and Santa Barbara City College's adult education program. She worked there while raising her children, and this dedication to her family and the profession speaks volumes about her character and her commitment. Her journey then brought her to our district. She started at Canalino School, where she spent 3 years before finding her home at Aliso. At Aliso, she embraced the role of kindergarten teacher, which she filled with warmth, patience, and dedication. During her time at Aliso, Gretchen taught several children of her former students, underscoring her lasting impact on our community. This illustrates her lasting influence on and the strong bonds she's formed with generations of families throughout Carpinteria. For the last 19 years, I have had the honor of working alongside Gretchen. She has been more than just a colleague. She has been a friend, a mentor, an inspiration, and the cornerstone of our school community. Her ability to connect with students, staff, and parents alike has made her a beloved figure at Aliso and throughout the district. Last year, Gretchen moved to Lompoc to be closer to her 3 grandchildren, showcasing her endurance and her commitment to her family. Despite the distance, she made the long commute every day, a testament to her dedication to her students and our school. In her retirement, she looks forward to devoting more time to her grandchildren, indulging in her passion for gardening, and embarking on various home improvement projects. As we bid farewell to Gretchen, we also express our deep gratitude for her years of service. Her dedication has shaped countless students' lives and left a lasting mark on our school community. Gretchen will be greatly missed, but her legacy will continue to inspire. On behalf of everyone at Carpinteria Unified School District, and especially at Aliso School, we wish Gretchen nothing but happiness and relaxation in her retirement. May this new chapter be filled with as much joy and fulfillment as you have brought to our lives and our school. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Gretchen. We appreciate, I just want to say, I did not have the privilege of having any students go through Aliso or Ms. Toffelmeyer's class. But I can say as a board member, each time I had the opportunity to go through her classroom on board tours, I'll speak to you, Gretchen, if you're listening or watching, maybe another time. But walking into your classroom was fairly magical. And it was very apparent how the kids love you. Like they love you. Every grade that I've seen go through there over the last 4 years now, they are so enthralled with what you are doing with them in the classroom from the beginning of the school year and at the end of the school year, and we are so excited for you. I am excited for you, and that you get to spend more time with family and other endeavors. But we are definitely sad, and we are going to miss you. And thank you for the commitment that you made to us, especially in the last year with the commuting from Lompoc. And I just, as it's apparent as a parent and as somebody who didn't have a child in your class, it was still very obvious how invested you are in our students, in your students. So thank you for your service.
I just have to say that my first job in the district in 2000 was working with Gretchen and the K teachers at Aliso School. And it was a true privilege to watch her teach. She was not only wonderful with the children, but she was definitely a teacher leader in the kindergarten. They were all great teachers, but she was definitely a leader, and it was a real privilege to work with those gals over there that year. So thank you, Gretchen.
Yeah, I'd just like to congratulate Gretchen as well. And we, all three of our kids went through Aliso, and I got to know Gretchen a little better when we were working on the field around the building the track one summer, and she and Mary Lewandowski would be dropping in and working in their classroom from time to time during the summer, and we had some really nice conversations. And but it's always just been apparent that Gretchen brought a kind, peaceful demeanor to her class, and that was translated into the behavior of her students and the thousands of lives she's touched over the years. Are and the great things that a lot of those students are going to go on and achieve. But I do wish Gretchen all the best. We're going to miss her there.
I'd also like to thank Gretchen. She really welcomed the students at the beginning of their educational career with open arms and a big heart, and that really started children off well in Aliso. Very excited about school. And she also focused on literacy. I can just picture her reading to her classroom groups as we would observe in the classroom, and really encouraging students to talk about what they saw in the pictures and understand the vocabulary, so we really appreciate that. In addition, she was a real teacher leader for us, and she mentored many teachers, so we really appreciated all that she's contributed to, not only to Aliso, but to Carpinteria Unified. And I wish you the very best in retirement, Gretchen. You deserve it.
Okay, and now I will open to public comment for E1.
So first, thanks, Brett, for speaking on behalf of so many at Aliso. Union leadership remains impressed with how well Mr. Weiberg knows his colleagues and how well he treats them. We're going to feel Gretchen's loss both at Aliso and across the district. She has been a quintessential professional, an elementary faculty leader, and a colleague. And I'm proud to say that after many years, that has crossed into the realm of a genuine friendship as well. There is no doubt that after 27 years, Gretchen has earned a secure and financially stable retirement after giving so many years to the district, our students, families, and community. And it's with that concept of a secure and financially stable retirement in mind that I also want to personally thank Gretchen for being such an active and consistent supporter of the union and the union leadership team that she helped to elect. Over the years, Gretchen has done so much to help cause leadership better understand the interests, the issues, and the concerns experienced by faculty and support staff. She has always been an open line of communication, a dependable partner in our effort to promote the most professional and productive working environment possible. So thanks, Gretchen. She remains, in my eyes, the strong, silent type. And our cause leadership team wishes her and you, Gretchen, the very best. And as you know, we will remain just a phone call or an email away. Thank you. Also, on a side note, wondering, will you be turning that so that people in the audience can see the speakers, or will you continue the practice of keeping it facing towards yourself? We're talking about the TV monitor screen. It's just a little different than most of the boards in the community handle it, and I throw that out there. Thank you.
Monica? Yep. Thank you.
Philip, can you check that there's video, please, and not just sound?
Everything's looking good on my end.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Maybe it's
you
just-
may have a faulty connection.
There's clearly video. I'm referring to the
Thank you, Caleb.
Was that referring to,
No, has nothing to do with that.
a message, no sound, just picture.
oh, just picture, no sound?
Oh, it's the other way around.
No, just sound, no picture. So what's being,
Message I have is no sound, just picture.
Caleb, I'm sorry, and the sound is good too? We just got a message from somebody who's watching.
Well, it's different people.
Thank you, Caleb.
okay. Any further public comment on E1? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Gretchen. Oh, you already did. We're good. Okay. Thank you, Gretchen. We really appreciate you. Okay, E2, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you. So I'd like to begin with recognizing our special education summer school staff. They're providing extended year programs and services to 46 special education students at Main Preschool, Canalino, and the high school. I'd also like to recognize and thank Maureen Fitzgerald, our Assistant Superintendent for Business, for her 8 years of extraordinary service to our district. She's an exceptional school business leader, and she's expertly managed our CUSD finances to support students and schools, and you will be sorely missed, and we wish you continued success. Thank you. The state budget. This is as reported by EdSource on June 17th. So the California lawmakers on June 13th passed a budget for 24-25 that incorporates the framework of a deal that the governor negotiated last month with the teachers union officials over how to deal with the part of the state's big revenue problem. Many details of the spending plan will be hashed out in the coming days and weeks, but this action allows the lawmakers to continue getting paid because it meets the constitutional requirement that they pass a budget before June 15th. The bare bones plan passed. It would increase the size of the can that the lawmakers are kicking down the road in order to deal with lagging revenue. It would increase the amount of Proposition 98 funding, the amount of the overall general fund that must go to K-12 education and community colleges that would be suspended in the current year, but with the expectation that much of it will be repaid and revenue will increase in the coming year. And the COLA does remain at 1.07%. The next item is our recruitment for the next school year. We're pleased to welcome our new Assistant Superintendent of Business, Jason Caff from Bakersfield. He has served as the Chief Business Officer of Farmsville Unified School District for the past 12 years. He was a former teacher in Bakersfield, as well as an internal auditor for the Kern County Schools. Jason has a bachelor's from Cal State Fresno, a CBO certificate from Cal State Bakersfield, and a JD from Oklahoma City University School of Law. At this time, we continue to recruit for special education teachers and a PE teacher at the middle school and an ag teacher at the high school. Our next item is our CHS Summer Bridge Program. Carpinteria High School students got a jump start on their science, technology, engineering, and math journeys this summer, thanks to a one-week bridge program hosted by Santa Barbara City College. 24 incoming ninth graders participated in a unique program designed to spark their curiosity and equip them with the skills to thrive in high school and beyond. The students had the opportunity to earn college credit. They completed a one-unit dual enrollment course on time management. They conducted hands-on experiments with SBCC professors, and they met a role model. They were so excited to meet Jose Hernandez, a former NASA astronaut. He shared his incredible story of overcoming challenges to become a pioneer in space exploration. He also wrote the book A Million Miles Away, and that's also been produced in a movie. This bridge program not only introduced students to the exciting world of STEM, but also fostered a sense of community and belonging. By building a strong foundation early on, these young minds are well equipped to excel in their academic pursuits and potentially pursue careers in STEM fields. And then our last item is the update on Measure U. The Catalina Learning Center's groundwork continues with the dewatering process and remaining excavation. Rock and geofabric have been imported and placed to increase the soil stabilization process. Inspection, backfill, and compaction are expected to begin this week, and the temporary fencing has been extended and the remaining project site work is underway. And then for the Aliso TK Kindergarten Classroom Building Project, we've progressed into the design development phase of services. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I have a small question. On recruitment, have we been getting many applications for PE or ag?
Plenty of applications.
We have.
Yes, and so the principals screen the applications, and then they invite their team to interview the top candidates.
Good to know. Thank you. Public comment on the superintendent's report, E2. Please feel free to step up to the podium now. Just make sure the green light is on before you begin.
I assume all of you have seen or read the adoption by the Los Angeles Unified School District about phones. And I'm just not sure where we are with that. Are we on a parallel course? Do we have a mandate to keep those phones out of the schools?
I apologize, but that is not within the superintendent's report. I think that would be more public.
My question was to the superintendent. Are you doing something about it?
Yes, we are. We're in discussion.
Oh, you're in discussion?
Yeah, with the principals.
So we might see something happen soon?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
That just next time even though it's for the superintendent, that is a general public comment for items not on the agenda. So I really want to keep things where they need to be in the agenda. Any further public comment on E2, the superintendent's report? Thank you.
First, thank you, Will, for bringing that issue up. And it's a little confusing why principals are talking about it and you're not saying that the board and the superintendent are talking about it. It seems like this is a decision that would come from upon high. Nonetheless, the superintendent's report contains a few interesting details. In regard to the budget and TK funding, Governor Newsom and the California legislature have once again shown a firm commitment to protecting public education in California, preserving critical school funding and layoff protections in the face of what appears to be deficits. That said, employee leaders like our local union leadership and the affiliates at the state level invite district leaders and community members to do more. We remain laser focused on a variety of issues that serve to improve in and beyond the teaching and learning environment. such as working to secure employee retention, increased transparency in district governance, and improving the state of safety associated with local and state public school districts, cell phones being one of those issues that has to do with safety. We're committed to working with student graduates, current community families, and elected representatives locally and in Sacramento to raise revenue for public education. Second, Ms. Rigby reported on the district's 24-25 recruitment effort. Employee leadership welcomes our new Assistant Superintendent of Business, Jason Caff. His experience and credentials appear significantly broader than his predecessor, and we hope that translates into well-informed and collaborative relationships on the variety of matters that require our collaboration. Ms. Rigby makes a bit of an understatement when she reports that CUSD, quote, continues to recruit from or for CMS, PE, CHS, special education, and CHS agriculture. Based on the district's personnel data, during the last 6 months, the period just before the resignation was handed in of Human Resource Director Zapata, CUSD has confirmed there have been 12 new employees hired in the district. Remember that number again, now it's 12 after this recent personnel report. Please compare that to the 5 that the district laid off, 3 were reassigned, and after 14 teachers were released on the completion of their second year, not due to performance problems, just released. 30 employees have also voluntarily left the district. That's a total of 46 employees leaving and 12 being hired. Of those 30 employees voluntarily leaving the district, they are composed of 12 classified support staff, 12 full-time teachers, 6 administrators, including HR Director Zapata, Ms. O'Shea, the principal at the middle school, and Assistant Superintendent Fitzgerald, all who were central figures in the district's recent legal debacle and subsequent ruling with the OAH. Again, Superintendent Rigby will be the only senior administrator who began the 23-24 school year, remaining at the start of the 24-25 school year. And it just seems to beg some questions, and we hope you're asking them. Thank you.
Any further public comment on the superintendent's report? Okay, any discussion from the board? Okay. Moving on to E3, the 24-25 Local Control Accountability Plan, LCAP, second reading. The board is asked to approve and adopt the 24-25 LCAP, Local Control Accountability Plan. This was presented for first reading on the June 11th board meeting. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment on E3, LCAP, second reading. Please step up to the podium now, and as long as the green light is on, you don't need to hit the microphone.
Alrighty. Thank you for allowing the comment before the presentation. At the June 11th board meeting, the union asked several questions about this LCAP presentation. Thus far, even though the LCAP has been brought back to be summarily, as usual, adopted with very little scrutiny, employees have received no to little response on the questions and requested clarifications at the last meeting. So we ask again, will the district please share data before adopting the LCAP that confirms the total number of students attending 2-year city colleges and 4-year colleges and universities in respect to the total number of seniors in the 23-24 graduating class? Will the district please clarify before adopting the LCAP the ratio between student behavioral events that warranted suspension and or expulsion compared to the actual number of expulsions? Union leadership cautions the board and the community from accepting the logic that because the suspension and expulsion rates have dropped ever so slightly, between 1/10 and 0.3%, we are seeing a significant improvement in student behavior, especially on our secondary school sites where cell phones continue to be a significant problem. Will the district please, before adopting the LCAP, clarify what accounts for the wide variance of improvements and reductions in student success contained in the CAST scores? Including a broader range of past years' comparisons would help us get a better sense of important trends versus annual changes. Only one slide in the entire presentation, on page 5, went back further than a single year, and we're wondering why that is. Will the district please, before adopting the LCAP, release and include more complete data associated with the California Healthy Kids Survey to include student, employee, and parent survey feedback? The California Healthy Kids Survey documents are typically over 100 pages of data per survey, student survey, parent survey, and employee survey. And in your presentation, you have condensed 300 pages of Healthy Kids Survey data into just 2 skeletal slides, neither of which contain any data shared directly by district employees. Once again, the general dismissal and failure to include and recognize the insights and experience of faculty and support staff is entirely absent in your document and in full transparency. We believe it is intentional. Why do you appear so afraid to look beyond the highly massaged and most positive messaging included in your presentation to include some of the maybe more raw data that you're receiving from those who have been working in the field for, say, for example, Ms. Toppelmeyer, 27 years, some 30, some 10, some 15, but all most very experienced educators and support staff. So please consider providing that information before adopting the LCAP. It seems important to know.
Any further public comment on LCAP second reading? Okay, seeing none. May I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the second reading of the 24-25 LCAP.
Approve and adopt is what we're being asked to do.
Approve and adopt.
I second that motion.
Okay. Discussion?
I think we had a pretty good discussion last meeting.
You did, and I did watch the last meeting, so I was able to be part of the discussion,
Yeah.
as it were, and go over everything. So,
I haven't developed any new questions since then.
No, it's pretty clear what's in there.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. E4, 24-25 proposed adopted budget presentation, second reading. The board is asked to approve the second reading and adopt the 24-25 proposed adopted budget. The first reading was done on June 11th, 2024 board meeting. Any questions from the board on the proposed adopted budget presentation?
So if I may, I'm not going to go over the whole presentation tonight, but I do want to focus on two different slides and just reiterate some information and maybe clarify misinformation that is repeated at every board meeting. On slide 9, there's a history of our property tax chart here that goes all the way back to 2019-20, and I have it actually back at least 20 years prior to that. And you can see year over year up until 23-4 or 22-3, we had about a 5 to a 5.1 increase year over year in our property taxes. Now, these are actual certified property tax receipts for our district. Beginning in the 22-3 year, we saw a big jump to 7.5%. A lot of that was due to the county having some very high-end homes sale, not necessarily in our district, because the dollars distributed to Carpinteria Unified are not necessarily tied to our district boundary homes. It's collectively in Santa Barbara County, and then the county assessor's office and treasurer's office through formula parse it back out to the districts. So it's not a one-for-one. We don't get to keep our property taxes. That's what's called a teeter district. And then in the 23-4 year, we have through P2 certified about just under a 7.5% property tax increase over the prior year. So what we did at the presentation, I think 2 meetings ago, is with some confidence increase our multi-year projections for 24-5, 5-6, and 6-7 to about a 7.4% increase from a more conservative 7% that we had projected starting in January. So having said that, with our property taxes, we are a basic aid, or what they call a community-funded district. We don't receive any LCFF funds. We don't receive supplemental and concentration grant funds. We don't receive any of the Prop 98 funds associated with LCFF. The only state income we get is what's called a minimum guarantee, and that's about $1.2 million. The other slide I'm going to go over is at the very end. I believe it's 27. It's our multi-year projection. It's a little bit slow on the click. Nope, not 29. So I want to also mention here that in the 23-4 year estimated actuals, and I will kind of do a little commentary here, maybe as a parting gesture, that in my time here with Carpinteria Unified, my estimated actuals to our audited, certified, state-certified actuals have been fractionally different. We're talking within tens of thousands of dollars out of a $40 million budget. So we are projecting just under a 5% reserve in the estimated actuals. And moving into 24-5, you see it's just under 7%, and then it moves into 25-6 and 6-7. And those future years really are just shell budgets with step and column and minimal increases and estimated property tax increases. So those are going to change. But in the 23-4 year, in this current year, as Mr. Hochner stated in his statement, we are going to be at impasse. We are at impasse right now, which means the district and cause the union did not come together with an agreement. So we have not settled negotiations for the 23-4 year. Next week we'll be officially in the 24-5 year. So while the reserve in the 23-4 year may not change, the salary agreement reached in 24-5 will be compounded by retroactive pay from 23-4 and the new salaries in 23-5. And that will affect those two reserve levels. The district's proposal at this time takes that 24-5 year just under a 4%. So we have to really understand that these are without any settlement agreements, and once they're applied, it brings that percentage, that reserve down to just under 4%, and we must have, required by AB 1200, a minimum 3% reserve. It's also been said, looking at the 2 out years, that we are limited to a 10% reserve. We are not. We are a basic aid district, and we are under 2,500 ADA, therefore we do not have a reserve cap. We do have, however, in board policy, the intended recommended 10% reserve for fiscal solvency. So while it's not required to have a 10% reserve, it is still in our board policy that that is what we aim for. The deficits that you see in this budget document have no correlation to unrestricted out-of-control spending or legal fees or anything like the such. It is due to the loss of COVID funds exclusively on the restricted side, as well as increases in special education to serve the most needy kids either in a non-public school environment or with one-on-one applied behavioral aids. It is not the unrestricted general fund and not our core revenue. On the last page, this is our COVID funds. These are our COVID funds. And you will see those funds in yellow, the last funds we had to spend in the 23-4 year, and now they've been fully exhausted. The number in millions are there, and this is about $14 million in COVID money that we have now spent down. Most of these millions were received 2 and 3 years ago, and spending the money is like basically taking it out of your savings as you spend it to nothing. So that looks like a deficit. It is not. It's how you spend fund balance. So I wanted to reiterate that because that's been very misrepresented meeting after meeting after meeting.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? I have a question. I'm not sure, Diana or Maureen, if you have this, and I apologize because I just was thinking of this. About how many districts in the state are LCFF? Like what percentage, not number, but like a rough percentage estimate?
I want to say there's what, 20% of the districts are basic aid?
I wouldn't even
15
say
to 20?
Maybe 100 out of 1,100. And most
Okay.
of those are in the Bay Area.
Okay.
And then some of the small districts, you know, like Montesino and Cold Springs, their measure is much smaller, so the property taxes end up superseding the LCFF.
I was trying to understand. I had heard a number thrown out that 96% of all districts in the state have a cap of 10%, and I had a feeling that was a correlation to LCFF because that is the mandate to LCFF because the way that is
Correct.
funded is different, and so that money must be spent differently.
Correct.
Because it's
Yes.
funded differently.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
And then So, so we take out, we can't think of any restricted funds, which for example, the COVID money, that would be considered restrictive
Yes.
funds, okay? And sped money, things like that. Without that, would you say we, in the last 3 years, have had an increase of, say, 20% in income?
It wouldn't be quite 20.
Okay.
Because this is only the second year at about 7.5.
Okay. So we haven't.
It would be just under 20%. Yes,
It
over
would be
3
under
years.
just under 20% over 3 years. Okay. And we were able to spend, sorry, looking further back here. Go back to our raises. In the last 3 years, we did anywhere from 10 to 12% in raises, in COLAs for our staff in the last since 21-22. About that. And then, not about, 21-22 and 22-23. When you combine them, we have 10% and 12% on top of step and column, which is about 3%, correct? Which is guaranteed year over year increases. Okay. And then we had our increase in sped costs this year, as well as the money that we're having to spend on the 1960s, 70s molestation cases for those legal fees, correct? So I'm trying to, like you had said, we've heard a lot of things, and so I'm trying to talk through and kind of wrap around numbers and percentages that get frequently thrown out instead of in a kind of reactionary way. Just be more thoughtful in how we look at this.
A good illustration of that is on page 14, where it shows you year over year the change in the unrestricted revenue and expenditures.
Right.
And last year in 22-23, when we gave the 10% and 8% raises, we knew that was going to be funded both it was going to need to require the current revenue and another year revenue to be able to fund that. So you can see in 22-3 we had a deficit of $715,000. We were going to use some of the 23-4 money to cover that deficit, as well as the fact that in my estimated actuals presentation, a large part of what this change is for the 23-4 year, the $732,000. That's exactly as I mentioned. It is the contribution to special education. It is there is a small settlement that we had. Well, not small. It was $140,000. It was a lawsuit settlement for special education that we had to put into a trust. That's the only change to legal fees. And then it was a dip in some of the sped revenue because of lower ADA.
Right. Okay. And then let's see here. Okay. Thank you for kind of humoring me here. I'm just trying to put all the pieces together because I talk with as a community member, as a parent, as a friend to a lot of people. You hear the talk, then the rhetoric that goes around, and so sometimes I have to think, what am I missing? And I was like, I know that this is what it is, and I heard from someone who heard from someone, and I just want to make sure that what we're working with is what we're really working with, which I know it is, but so I can better understand it a little bit more and be able to articulate that better. Thank you. I appreciate that. It just helps me clarify a few things.
Thanks, Jamie. I want to congratulate you again, Maureen, for being so accurate from our initial budget to now, and for every budget that I've seen you put forth, they have been so close, fractionally close. But I would like, just one thing I'd like to reflect on in our budgeting is that, we probably owe cause a big thank you right now, because had we settled with them earlier in the year with what we were probably capable of doing, we'd be in a pickle right now, wouldn't we? We'd be in a pickle because our special ed has increased so much. That would be on us. The board would be holding the bag then. But I think as far as budgeting goes, I think we dodged a bullet there.
We'd be alongside most districts that offered layoff notices March 15th.
Yeah, that's what we would have done.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I also just want to point out something that I think, and I'm guilty of this too, is kind of overlooking pension increases. It's a bit of a sleeper. It's not super snazzy, but it's very important. This last year it was, let's see here, we're looking at it, $5.1 million towards pension. And so that's I get in the overall a percentage, but that's something that that is a significant piece of the puzzle that as somebody who doesn't have the luxury of a pension that gets funded by an employer, I go, wow.
What's interesting is that in the time I've been on the board, our contribution to pension, just pension, not health and welfare, but pension, has been about a $2.5 million increase. Yep. Every year, not just one time. That was a significant, when they projected those that escalation in contribution to the local LEAs, right? That was a big, our property tax revenues were increasing pretty good, but all those increases in revenue were being sucked out by the contribution to our pensions and our health and welfare increases and things like that. But again, I'd like to just commend you on how tight this budget is and how close you've been able to get your projections to the actual audited end of the actuals. So we're going to miss that.
Yeah, and to be fair, it did, back to pension. It did go down a little bit this last year compared to the previous years. But just since 2021, it's gone up over $1 million in 4 years. And I think that's because of the acceleration that you were talking about just before that.
Yeah, it was a big bump.
To get people caught up more. And
keep in mind for COVID, with the COVID money, all of the money, we heavily invested in additional staff, heavily, with all the funds. And as the money had run out, and through attrition, we did not hire back those positions. That's going to reduce your pension because those were all pension positions. So it's kind of a little...
Interesting. That's something that
So it's
just
not
like
that they're
it's a
going
sleeper
down,
both ways.
your
Gotcha.
factor of calculation has gone lower.
Thank you for pointing that out, because I would not have attributed that to it. I really appreciate that. Okay. Okay. I'm going to open this up to public comment. E4, proposed adopted budget presentation, second reading. If you have public comment, please step up to the podium, and as long as the green light is on, you're good to go.
Hello. First off, thank you to Jamie Dimond for talking to me about the special needs and explaining to me that was extremely helpful, and my offer to write letters to help try to, do whatever we can to address that. It remains.
I owe you an email still.
Okay, great,
Sorry.
great.
Yes.
No problem. So anyway, also thank you to Maureen Fitzgerald for that wonderful explanation. That was excellent. That really helped me understand a lot. I don't know much about the teacher salaries and everything, or the increases in the benefits and so forth. What I do know is that since 2020, general inflation has gone up 21%. If we have revenues, each year our revenues from the property taxes go up as well. So, I think investing in our teachers is a very good idea. Now, there was one question I had, and that was to Maureen Fitzgerald. You explained the spending down of the COVID monies. So the $4 million that appears to be like an overage this year, that's all COVID monies. Okay, thank you. And those are restricted funds? Yeah, okay, great. The one thing that I was looking at the 2025 budget, and if you look, it's not in this package, it's on the one that's online, that if you go, it's 108 pages long. If you go down to, the one that's marked 34, it's actually page 37 in my document. On legal expenses budgeted for 24-25, we're at 1.143 million. What I want to know is that going to be sufficient if you have to pay out anything on the 70s lawsuit, or if you have to pay out for for the result of the outcome of the lawsuit with Jay Hotchner? I mean, how are you going to address that? I mean, or do you just plan to keep appealing things if they don't go your way? How are we dealing with that? Is 1.143 million going to be enough to deal with that? And that's my question and public comment.
Thank you for that.
Do you have any response? Just curious.
I'm not prepared with any response
Okay.
for that question at this
Great.
time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Clearly, 3 minutes is not enough time to clarify the accuracy of what was just shared, some of which was accurate and some of which was clearly presented in a way that really misleads the conversation. So let's think big picture instead. The budget provides great insight into our current district leadership's priorities. I think everybody would agree to that. Since May of 2023, faculty, support staff, and the community have been told that there is no significant amount of money in the 23-24 budget for salary increases. I'm still not sure what Mr. Schaefer is referring to. The district offered 1% at the beginning of the year. Yet, the district has managed to provide salary increases to district administrators in that same period. A 5% increase in July 2023, a 2% increase coming this evening, and even more step and column increases equivalent to maybe another 2, maybe 3% in step and column for 24-25. See items H2 and H3 if you're wondering about that. While failing to provide district faculty and support staff any salary increases since July of 2023. The district will have provided administrators an equivalent of 9 to 10% worth of salary increases. In what world does that seem equitable to you, Mr. Schaefer, or any of our board members? Why is that? How many times have we been told that the district's budget does not account for future salary increases? Why is that? Why are employees the last of the very long list of district leadership's budget priorities? Do they not anticipate, do you not anticipate the increases that will be needed? Do they or you believe that they haven't been earned? Do you, our district leaders, not recognize that the district's ability to recruit and maintain talent has become a punchline regionally? Every year we watch the district budget. We watch the district budget and spend on a variety of administrative priorities, starting with administrative salary increases at the beginning of each year, just like tonight. CUSD seems entirely comfortable budgeting for legal attacks on the very employees who represent and work directly with students, and budgeting for any variety of pet administrative projects, fashionable seminars, administrative trainings, expensive contractors and contracts that often provide access to future administrative opportunities outside of the district, and so on and so on. But the district doesn't budget for salary increases for the very employees who work directly with students and families, the most basic general cost that the district has to cover. Why is that? Employee leaders have done all we can to promote more proactive and effective budgeting practices. We have offered multi-year agreements. We have offered contingency formulas based only on the actual revenues that CUSD receives in property taxes. This year, approximately 4 to 5 times more than most districts in the state. We have encouraged taking the guesswork out of the budgeting with the contingency formulas, and putting both
Thank you.
administration,
Your time is up.
faculty, and support staff on the same page.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Rowing
Your time is up.
in the same
Your
direction.
time is up.
We hope you'll
Your
consider
time
that.
is, time's up.
You know, I'd be embarrassed too if I was as poor a negotiator as that, and I'd have to stand up here every week and try to cover myself.
Okay. Any further public comment on the budget presentation? And when the buzzer rings, please, your time is up.
Thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. I have been expected things to change since 2016 when I was running for my campaign. Actually, that was my goal, transparency. During my campaign, and doing 4 years with you. And believe it or not, I'm still trying to find it. Since January, I have been just listening to what you have to say. Haven't been actually being vocal. Yeah, and I praise your achievements, board members, staff. Thank you for your 8 years, Maureen. Appreciate that. And but I think it's time to speak up on board achievements, on what you have done right, and where you can improve. That's all I want. And I decided to actually be vocal. Might keep you probably 20 minutes longer, but there's a need for it. There's a need because we haven't had a chance to really see things improve. Like, for example, we all know that teacher salaries cannot stay the same. I mean, what's the certain teacher salary? Let's say 55,000. That wasn't good in 2016, or maybe so, but not now. I mean, let's say I work at McDonald's full time, 40,000 per year, $20 an hour. Without that degree, just being 18, or someone who's there for 60, working for 20, 30 years. Let's say, okay, that, I mean, the teacher should be. That's why they're required to get a bachelor's degree and a teaching credential. So
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, any further public comment on the budget presentation? Okay, we are being asked to approve and adopt the 24-25 proposed adopted budget. May I get a motion?
I'll move to approve and adopt the budget as presented.
I'll second that.
Okay, and discussion from the board? Okay. I think my comments are better placed maybe later in the agenda. So I'll reserve some of those. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are now at E5, public comment for items not on this agenda. If you'd like to speak about something that is not covered under today's agenda, please feel free to step up to the podium now. When the green light is on, you are good to go. You have 3 minutes, and please stop when the buzzer goes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. Okay, this is what's happening. For months, years, I have heard that safety is the board's priority. Correct? Correct? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. So,
Yes.
So what happened when Michael Ramirez approached the district asking for help to protect our children? Meaning that letting this community officer go. $250,000 per year, and the city does not have the budget. Yesterday, Michael Ramirez, the city manager, approached the district, probably you, Superintendent Rigby, and you said, or whoever, maybe you, Jimmy, said no, no. Yesterday, it's on the record. City council meeting yesterday, Michael Ramirez saying that. You can give him a call. Give him a call. And the issue is that the city doesn't have the budget. So they're letting him go. And all he's doing is protecting our children, preventing violence. And they're now trying to get somewhere the money to even give him, to even pay for a part-time community officer. Looking for the safety of our children, our kids. You have said several times, I mean, for all over the years, our kids, well, now our kids need that protection. And according to Michael Ramirez, yesterday, our city manager said, call in the district, and you're saying, no. No. Now, this is, they're trying, the city, they're trying to desperately find some resources, financial resources, to even hire someone part-time, 125,000. The city is paying for the high school.
Thank you.
For the high school crossing.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to get up here and clarify, I think, what he was trying to talk about. I didn't go to the last night's meeting at City Council, but previously, you know, they've been looking at ways to, I think it was find $600,000 to cut in the budget, and the community service officer is one of those line items that is up for that. I believe you guys offer $50,000 towards the funding of that officer, so I just wanted that to be clarified. As far as I know, the position is still on the cutting block, so if there's anything that, you know, you have the power to do, that may be something that you want to consider. The other thing I want to say is that, you know, there are times which I don't agree with you guys, and, you know, I state that, but I think it's really important that we always have civil discourse and come together in good faith. And, you know, sometimes I know that you may be personally attacked, you know, I've seen that, but you should never stoop to the level of, you know, attacking back. You know, please rise against that. You know, please give everyone the respect. I want to commend Aaron Smith, because he always sits there. He always stares straight at me. You know, he always looks at me with respect. You know, he doesn't like frown or shrug or anything. He always is really great as far as like listening, and I commend him for being a model for that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment for items not on the agenda? Please step up now.
Okay, so thank you. After the bargaining partners began the 23-24 negotiation cycle in April 2023, several challenges ensued. One, the district had unilaterally canceled 11 of the first 14 scheduled bargaining sessions, significantly delaying the bargaining process. The district then recomposed its bargaining team in the middle of the cycle, which was desperately needed, but it also further delayed the process, especially when the district only offered in the beginning availability during limited non-business hours. Both the certificated and classified CBAs had not been properly updated since 2015-16. That's on Ms. Rigby. Previous contract agreements had not been consistently included in the CBAs, nor had obsolete language been removed. The district's refusal to resolve those responsibilities under Ms. Rigby's supervision further delayed the 23-24 bargaining cycle. Eventually, precious March and April bargaining sessions were instead used to resolve the required contract updates. For the first 12 months of the 23-24 bargaining cycle, the district's team did not only rejected all employee proposals, CUSD also refused to provide any explanation for why it did that. This caused further delay. The district provided its first explanation of supporting data on one workday before our May 2nd board session. Again, approximately 12 months after we began the process. When the union sought information pertinent to our negotiation discussions, the district's responses were lethargic, incomplete, and/or non-existent, and the district's game of hide the ball further complicated our ability to reach agreements based on realistic and accurate data. Throughout the 23-24 cycle, the union has submitted over 100 unique proposals and counterproposals, amending its positions and sacrificing its interests on many occasions. The district has done very little to change its original positions. Yesterday, after the district reaffirmed the same entrenched posture and failed to share data clarifying its rationale, union leadership determined that an agreement was not possible. CAUS notified the district that the union would pursue impasse, and we submitted a request for impasse directly with the California Public Employment Relations Board this morning. The declaration of impasse serves as yet another huge financial victory for Ms. Rigby's hand-select lawyer and law firm, who, on the way out of the door yesterday, were saying, quote, "Why do y'all seem so morose? Everyone's so glum." The board should consider that perhaps everyone was so glum and morose because this lawyer and his law firm, 3F LLP, will continue to be the only party profiting from the inability to reach reasonable, good faith agreements. While students, employees, and their families struggle, the district's law firm will continue laughing all the way to the bank. It is time for Ms. Rigby to stop outsourcing the district's bargaining responsibilities to this LA legal firm and put an end to this dysfunction. We can get to agreements, but it's going to be very difficult when you have a law firm that is running your
Thank you for
show.
your time.
Thank you.
Any further public comment for items not on the agenda? Okay. I just have a few things I want to follow up on because it was brought up by several commenters. I believe the community, I want to be very clear, it's a community resource officer position, correct? Not just a school resource officer position that the city paid for. We did offer, I believe, to pay a portion of that for the school services based on the amount of time. And we also, I want to be clear, please let me know if I'm on track with this. When we have resource officers at dances, events, school events, things like that, we pay for those services separate, like on top. So I just want to make sure we're correct. So we didn't say we wouldn't pay any part. We offered about $50,000, was it?
That conversation was more than 2 weeks ago. And
Yeah.
yes, we did
Okay.
agree that 1 day a week was sufficient for the middle school and high school, and that we could offer $50,000 towards that 1 day a week.
Okay, I just wanted that clarified. Okay. Okay, thank you. We are moving on to F1, warrants. The board is asked to approve the warrants for the period of June 7th, 24 through June 20th, 24 in the amount of $997,283.37. Warrants are issued once a week on Thursdays. The report format shows check number, check date, payee, brief account description, payment comment, and check amount. Any questions from the board on the warrants? Okay. Public comment on F1 warrants. Please feel free to step up to the podium now.
Okay, so this evening there is a rare detail in the district's warrants. In the last 2 weeks, the USD has not paid any extraordinary sums of money to cover the unnecessary attacks on elected employee leaders. No money going to FFF3 LLP. There is nothing to add to the $450,000 total spent in just the last 3.5 months to this firm. There is nothing to add to the already millions spent in the previous 12 months to this firm. Imagine if CUSD stopped right there, right now, and began investing that money in ways that clearly and directly serve district students and families. Because as long as CUSD misappropriates tax dollars towards these very personal priorities of a small group of district leaders, here is where the money comes from. The district is not investing in class size reductions, which are one of the most reliable ways to ensure student participation and engagement. In fact, the district has announced class size increases in some cases. And it's not that we haven't done any work in this direction, but are we satisfied with where we're at? Couldn't we do better? The district is not investing in more robust transportation services aimed at reducing declining enrollment, tardies, and absences, or to ensure that our students can consistently compete with surrounding districts in both academic and extracurricular activities like other districts. The district is not investing in reopening kitchens at all district school sites versus just the counters with food processed off-site. It's a different experience for the kids and the people who work there. And it's a different level of nutrition as well. The district is not investing in increased classroom support in the form of more instructional aids for non-English speakers, behaviorally challenged students, and special education students. The district is not investing in salary increases for faculty and support staff to help provide district employees the economic stability and resources that allow them to remain laser focused on their jobs and provide the variety of volunteer service that comes with that stability. And the district is not investing in more versus less custodians to ensure that district restrooms and classrooms are maintained at previously superior standards. That was one of the few negative data points the district was willing to share in the LCAP presentation. Under the school is clean question on page 12, students reported a declining cleanliness at their schools, even though that survey was completed before the district released 5 custodians in the spring. The district is not investing in the 8 campus security officers that the district promised to the community. We will start the 24-25 school year with barely half of the safety personnel we were promised, and it appears, perhaps, much less resources from the city in regard to our CRO, our resource officer. And the district is not investing in a perimeter fence at the high school to ensure that CHS knows who is and who isn't on our high school campus before any unfortunate events versus afterward.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Consider.
Thank you.
How you
Your
spend
time is
money.
up.
Thank you.
Any further public comment on warrants? F1. And yeah, please step up now.
Thank you. Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. Okay, so yesterday the city took pretty good hits because of the budget. And did matter to Al Clark? Let him talk. 4 minutes, no problem. So I think that shows respect. So, Jamie, please be respectful. I mean, 3 minutes is fine, but we don't have a clock or watch to check in our time. So at the very least, let us finish our thought. If we go 5-10 seconds beyond 3 minutes, it shouldn't matter. Just let finish our thought. Okay, so the city annually spends 150,000 on legal fees. So they're deferring that because they cannot afford to pay 150,000. So they're deferring that along with the community officer. Okay, maybe next year, maybe 2 years, but not today. So now our district is spending millions on legal fees. That's the root of the problem. Even when I was there, I pointed this out time after time. Watch out for legal fees that taking our money. And that was then. And this is now. And even more now than before. So please, caution. Use your mind. I mean, you have a call.
I'm sorry, is your comment about anything on the warrants here?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'll add you 6 seconds, 7 seconds,
okay.
there we go.
No, it's just.
But it's on the warrant, so I'm trying to.
See, now, you interrupt, and that
I
takes
just said
takes part of, what, now it's probably 20 seconds or so. So.
Said I'd add it back. Please.
All right, so just caution with this, because it's a huge problem now. And think about taxpayers. Think about taxpayers and spend wisely. Because what's happening is just throwing away millions on legal fees altogether, in general. Not that this week. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Delgado, maybe I missed it, but did you have a comment on a specific warrant item or on these warrants here? No. Okay. Thank you. Just making sure I didn't miss something. Okay. And I just want to be clear. The 3 minutes and stopping at the tone is a sign of respect for each other's community members, for everybody's time, but also by keeping it the same for everybody across the board, that is being respectful. So the time is 3 minutes, that's what we have. So I ask that we all do that, please. I don't appreciate being put in the position to have to cut people off who continue to go on and on, because it's, as somebody who was, and often for my job, is on that side of the podium, it stinks. But at the same time, everybody needs to do their part at these meetings. Okay, so F1, may I get a motion to approve the warrants?
I move to approve the warrant.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. F2, gifts, grants, donations. Donation from Ed George via Carpinteria Education Foundation to CHS Avid. The board is asked to accept the donation from Ed George via CEF of $7,000 to CHS Avid for their junior college field trip. Any questions from the board on this item? No? Okay. Public comment on F2A. Please feel free to step up to the podium now. As long as the green light is lit, you're good to go.
So cause leadership and the employees we represent want to thank those community members who provide grants and gifts to the CUSD without any unethical or unprofessional strings attached. This time, another generous donation from CEF. In regard to the CEF donation, we're trying to determine what is different about this specific CEF donation when compared to donations made to help fund the cost of CPR first aid training for all district personnel that were not brought before the board. We were trying to figure out in regard to this specific CEF donation, what's different about this CEF donation when compared to donations to conduct research and explore how many talented and credentialed teachers live in our community but choose not to work with CUSD, preferring to commute, in some cases, up to 2 or 3 hours a day to teach in other districts. In regard to the CEF donation, what's different about this specific CEF donation when compared to donations that would help fund serving community members who do not send their children to CUSD? To better understand why they are forfeiting their free public education to instead choose to pay significant portions of their income on other educational venues. Why is that? Why does CEF get to the community tonight, but not these other donations? In regard to the CEF donation, what's different about CEF's donation and gift when compared to donations provided to help fund public and transparent board study sessions, where the budget is the focus of the meeting, and there is time to go into great depth on that topic, not 3 minutes for public speakers, but real time for the community to wrap their head around what exactly is happening. This had been a routine before Superintendent Rigby arrived. In regard to this specific CEF donation, what's different about CEF's donation when compared to donations made to cover costs associated with the resolution of requests for public information, which the CUSD only produces after extensive delays? Ask anyone who's filed a public information request with this district. How long have they had to wait? What's different about CEF's donation and all these other donations that have never made it before you, but we have confirmed that these donations have been submitted to the district and have not been put on the agenda? So we're trying to figure out what's different. Why is the CEF donation on the agenda and not any of these others? Thank you.
Any further public comment on F2A? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
Can I make a comment about this?
After we
Vote.
After we have a motion, then it's open for discussion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I'd just like to say Ed George has, right from the beginning of AVID, contributed generously to the AVID funds. He gets involved with the AVID students. And I understand that he was given a stole yesterday, and all the AVID students from the high school signed it and presented it to him. And I believe he was extremely touched by that. But he has given a lot more than $7,000 to the AVID students, and they do exceedingly well through that program. So thank you, Ed, for doing that. We greatly appreciate it.
Yes, I'd like to also echo those statements, Tally. And Ed has done he's been a tremendous contributor to not just CEF, but other groups within the community. And, we're a better place because of it.
Yeah, I am incredibly appreciative of this gift for our students. This is an absolutely foundational trip for our AVID kids. Seeing the pictures and hearing the experiences they have after coming back is something pretty special to hear. So I'm very excited for this program to continue. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Wonderful. F3, Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. The board is asked to approve the Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. Senate Bill 553 requires employers to have a workplace violence prevention plan in place by July 1st, 2024. The WVPP will become a component of the existing Illness and Injury Prevention Plan, IIPP, already in place. This plan is intended to provide a plan for reporting, documenting, addressing, and maintaining information and data related to workplace violence. This plan has been developed in coordination with Cal OSHA and the SBCEO template. Any questions from the board? I have a couple questions. After going through the plan, I'm having it talks about inspections, and I'm wondering who does these inspections?
It's referring to our maintenance supervisor and inspecting the facilities, as well as employee feedback regarding the facilities. So the inspections are our facility manager, Jim Pettit.
Okay. And then it talks about,
Those are generally, a lot of those take place with the fire marshal
Yeah.
or with.
Okay.
He uses
Thank
outside
you.
sources,
Other
but he's in charge of them.
groups.
gotcha.
Yeah, but
That's
he'll
who
contact
is
the group.
He's the one that coordinates.
Yeah. For example, if you wanted to inspect the HVAC system, he would coordinate that with the HVAC experts, and they come and inspect the system. It's all of his inspections under his expertise, under his supervision.
I guess that's more of the injury and prevention plan, but as far as the workplace violence prevention part of
It's
it,
that's the part of it.
that falls
That's what
under
it's
that as
referring
well.
to.
Okay.
Yes.
And then let's see here. Sorry, my internet keeps cutting off, so I was trying to pull up the document. Do you have it in front of you? Thank you. That's why I usually use my phone, because my laptop disconnects constantly. Sorry, I would have had this already up.
The name is misleading. The title of the document is
Yes.
misleading.
But it's all from Cal OSHA. We were required to do it before July 1. It's a template. The Santa Barbara County Office of Education provided the template, and it's all the required elements that need to be in place. It's not something that we generate. Those are the required elements that have to be in place.
Yeah, and I totally get the template aspect of it. Okay, where are we? Well, my question isn't, I can't find what I was looking for, so I'll ask you. It's nothing that would change how I feel about any of this. It's okay, so this will be included with new employee orientation, and there will be a training program. What does that training, so there's the new employee orientation. Is there anything that this will inherently change that we would need to do, like an overhaul new orientation or training for all staff? Is this changing anything from how we currently operate, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, we'll be adding this as a training that's required for all staff.
So we're adding a training.
Yes.
That is required.
Yes, which we will do at the beginning of the year,
for the staff. And
like all of the districts in our county.
Thank you.
It'll be at the beginning of the year when staff returns. It will be online, as well as if there's questions, there'll be an opportunity for staff to contact the HR coordinator with any questions.
Thank you. I was trying to grasp what I was looking at there. Okay. Any further questions from the board on this? No? Okay. F3, public comment, workplace violence prevention plans. Please step up to the podium now.
Alrighty. This is another example of the district, when it pushed this out, it said, quote, "This is an example of the district's commitment to ensuring safe and secure working environment for all employees." And it is an example of the district's commitment specifically. Although the state legislature made the district's obligations to collaborate directly with employee and employee leaders on the workplace violence prevention plan in September of 2023, the district did not contact our leadership team until 7 working days before the deadline to put the plan on this agenda. That's the district's commitment to ensuring a safe and secure working environment. Even though union leadership had provided not one, but 2 safety proposals in contract bargaining, which contained many suggestions for improving workplace safety and minimizing the threat of violence, CUSD refused to discuss this earlier. Even though union leadership made it clear from the outset that it was and remains an engaged and productive partner in all matters of district safety, The district is now moving their plan before the board without even a single collaborative meeting on the topic. Not one. Although it's clear CUSD has not provided CUSD the full measure of our legal right to participate in this process, because, by the way, the legislature required that these meetings take place, and you chose not to do them. We can and will examine that detail later. For now, there's really not a lot of time to waste. The union offers the following dates for more detailed examination and analysis of the district's workplace violence prevention plan. Thursday, June 27, 10:30, Friday between 9 and 12, and if those don't work, we're still available the following week. We continue to request agenda topics as we already did when the district didn't respond, and we'll provide those we believe remain outstanding once we have a better idea of what the district intends to accomplish at the first of what may require several upcoming meetings on this topic. Currently, you may have noticed that the district's plan refers to a plethora of documents, policies, and protocols that are not attached or included. Ms. Diamond, you asked the right question. What changes in this plan? The union has sought those documents to better understand and determine exactly what the summary plan is rooted in. What are these firm commitments and protocols and resources that are referred to, but when you really dig into it, they're not listed, they're not itemized, they're not identified. Upon asking for these materials, the district went silent. That was about 6 days ago. But for the acknowledgement that it had neither referred to these said documents at any great depth yet, or had it met even by late last week to construct the plan that sits before you. This plan came together in the very last moments of what is September to June, that window.
Thank you.
Yet
Your
we're
time is
talking
up.
about their commitment.
Thank you.
to
Your time
safety.
is up. Any further public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the workplace violence prevention plan, which is very thorough, by the way.
I'll second that.
Discussion. Okay, so the requirement, and I want to be clear, is as far as meeting with union is to confer at some. It doesn't. Does it have to be prior to July 1?
Our HR director, Deanna Zapata, submitted requests to meet in June to meet and confer, and the union was unable to do that. So that is the requirement. We fulfilled the requirement, and but they were unable to do it.
Okay. And then as far as, sorry, I wish my internet had been working again. No, it's good now, but as far as the actual nuts and bolts of the training and what the plan involves, is that content already being used? Is it being used from or gained from like a third-party provider, or is that specific to our district? Does it get tailored to our district? Does it already exist? Where is that?
Okay. The template is that all the districts are using are from Santa Barbara County Education Office. And so all the forms are tailored to our district. However, we followed the same information from the county office.
Okay, so the information, the more detailed information is
Available.
available.
Yes.
Okay.
And it'll all be posted on our website.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, we have any further discussion? Okay. Motion for, and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. F4, authorization to sign checks on behalf of the Carpinteria Unified School District. The board is asked to approve the updated authorized signatures due to administration and staff changes. We currently hold accounts at Montecito Bank and Trust. This institution has authorization requirements, and accounts will be updated following this action. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment on F4. Okay, seeing none. May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay. We are moving on to Measure U. Oh, sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. G1, Measure U Annual Report. The board is asked to approve the 22-23 Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report. Jennifer Cota, Chair of the committee, will present to the board information regarding the committee's activities and an overview of the 22-23 Annual Report.
Good evening, everyone. Happy summer. Jennifer Cota, so parent to 2 students who have graduated out of the district, 2 at the high school. My privilege to present the 2024 Measure U Citizens Bond Oversight Committee Annual Report, referred to as CBOC for the committee. As an overview, Measure U is a voter-approved issuance of $90 million in general obligation bonds to update facilities, infrastructure, and technology across CUSD. All of the $90 million have been issued, $78 million in projects completed, and $7.9 million in projects obligated across the district in planning stages. Diana, you already articulated some of those this evening, so thank you. The 22-23 fiscal year saw $9 million in projects completed, the biggest of which was the Summerland Elementary School, new building, classrooms, library, office, and a beautiful outdoor area. Most notably, the audit report for 22-23 fiscal year again received positive ratings on all independent financial and compliance audits. So great job. The CBOC meets 3 times annually as required. These are public meetings that ensure all bonds are being spent on construction and renovation. We're an advisory committee working together with the district, so thank you, Maureen, for your service and partnership. As the new CBOC chair, I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Gary Blair for his dedicated service the past 6 years, and for the entire CUSD staff and other committee members for their time and cooperation. Lastly, congratulations to the CUSD board, administration, teachers, and staff, and everyone who will be continued to be impacted by all of the new improvements on campus. So it's summertime. I invite you to take a walk through while you can, or when we get back in the fall. Board meetings and Measure U website can be seen on the report. That is all from me. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board?
Thank you, Jennifer, for your patience.
You're welcome.
And that way, it was a great report. Thank you.
Okay. Public comment for Measure U Annual Report. Please feel free to step up to the podium at this time. Ensure the green light is on before you begin. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Jennifer, for the time you put into this. Really, it's extraordinary. The union has generally not spent much time on the oversight of the Measure U fund and projects. Previously, our competence in Mr. Blair and now in Jennifer, commensurate with the extensive other oversight mechanisms, have left us more confident in how that money is being spent, and it is more concrete, literally concrete, right? But also more concrete conceptually in whether we can watch and track how the money's being spent and what it's being spent on. However, later this evening, we're compelled to ask some questions on this topic, and we'll do that shortly. Thank you.
Any further public comment on Measure U Annual Report? Okay. Seeing none, may I get a motion to approve the annual report?
I move to approve the Measure U Annual Report.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Nope. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you to the team, to the committee, for your time and dedication. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, moving on to G2 Measure U update with Maureen.
Okay, so this is going to be an update with actual spending through May 21st. You'll get an update again in October through the year end as we close the books through August. And the summary page on page 2 identifies all the school sites and all the projects at the school sites. The first column in purple, or kind of blue, identifies all of the allocations available for Measure U. The grand total includes the Measure U revenue, including interest, and it also includes all of the other funds that have been used for Measure U, including the sale of Whitney and Toro Canyons for the building of Summerland, capital facilities of $1.8 million to offset also Summerland School and a couple of other projects. You'll see those on the site page. And then we did receive $16.2 million from the state in basically reimbursing Measure U for the projects that we had submitted to DSA for reimbursement for modernization. So altogether, we have available for our projects $115 million. The red column next to that are all of the allocations of that money to projects that have been either completed or committed by the board. The white column is what we've spent through May 21st. It also reflects the actual receipts at the bottom in red, and then the current obligations, which are Aliso Elementary School, the TKK wing, those classroom are new stick build for $7.2 million, and the Catalina Learning Center, that's the $2.6 million. And then we still have unpaid or not yet closed out main school roofing and painting projects, so you see a little bit there. And then the project admin below are just the encumbrances for what we have outstanding for some technology and some of the fence hardware, and then some staff salaries. So on the last column in green, after everything's allocated and paid to date, we still have at the bottom of the page about $17 million for future projects. And I'll talk about that in a second. As we go through the slides, we just talk about each school specifically and the projects at each school specifically. Most of them are going to be closed out. The high school has no obligations currently. They are completely finished with all of their projects. And you can see the expenditures through the 21st of May in 2024. That includes from the inception of the project. So that's everything to date. That's not just this year. It's not just last year. This is since the beginning of the projects. So they are fully complete at the bottom of the page for $32 million, the high school. The middle school does have some, not future obligations, but we'll see at the end, projects that have not yet been, have not yet started or have been put into development. And so to date, the middle school has had $7 million, and that's that expenditure to date of May 21st of work, projects done to date. And you'll see nothing in current obligations because nothing has been actually allocated by the board for a specific project or begun a specific project. At Aliso, again, expenditures through date in the May 21st column is 9.4. That includes 3 phases of modernization. And then in the current obligations, we have brought a budget before the board of $7.2 million, and that project is currently, like was reported by Diana, in design development. Catalino currently has had a total spent of just under $21 million, and the current obligations of the Catalina Learning Center, and I'll talk a little bit about that, those costs in a future agenda item that's coming up. This is the last project for Catalina Elementary School. And then Summerland, we have had no further expenditures. That project was closed out. That cost $7.8 million, and we have a beautiful brand new school that's just gorgeous. You can see at the bottom of the slide, we did use the sale of Toro and Whitney properties, as well as some funds from the developer fee, which is the Capital Facilities Fund, which is from developer fees. The Student Success Center, that has been completed for many years, $2.1 million. Main school, we have some outstanding payments for the main painting and roof project of $123 million, and then main school will be complete at just over $2 million. The poor district office could use some carpet. Hopefully, at some point, that will happen, and we can not have to try to match duct tape to the carpet color. But they have had $50,000, and those are all fire safety upgrades that had to take place. And then here we have the future projects. So we have the 17 million remaining of the unobligated project funds. And we have on the priority list from the board, the Carpinteria Middle School multipurpose room, which was estimated, now this is a long time ago, in 2016, that's like 8 years ago, for $3.4 million. It will probably be double that now. And then we have the high school outdoor amphitheater, which we have approved for KBZ Architects to do a feasibility study and give us what that looks like as far as cost. And that has not been estimated as far as what it would take to do an amphitheater at the high school. So those are all of the projects and all of the Measure U costs. And it has been an absolute pleasure working with the Measure U team, and they are stellar.
Thank you, Maureen. Any questions from the board on this presentation? Okay. Okay. So and I guess maybe this bleeds into potentially Ms. Coda, I'm not sure. But as far as the projects, the future projects, such as the NPR modernization, desperately needing a new, not just roof, but ceiling in there, as well as so much more. But also recognizing that we have other facilities on that site that really need a lot of work. And I wasn't part of the process in the beginning when all of these things were designated, and since then, things have weathered, things have changed. And so this question gets asked a lot, and I'm just going to ask it again because we're here at this point. The future projects, such as the NPR modernization, is that set in stone, or is there an opportunity for the community or the board to provide any direction on changing or shifting or splitting or doing something different? Or are we, I don't want to say stuck because that's not what I'm trying to say, but are we locked in on these projects with the remaining funds?
Yeah. So at any time, the board can vote a different way to spend the Measure U funds. So currently, that is what the board voted on as a priority. But when we finish the TKK building at Aliso, then you'll know exactly how much money you have left. By that time, the Baylord land is not included in this, the Baylord sale.
Yeah.
So you'll know exactly how much money you have left, and then you'll know that the board voted on the NPR room at CMS, but there are other interests, and so the board will take that all in consideration and either continue with this plan or re-vote and make recommendations for a different way of spending the remaining Measure U funds.
Okay.
But at that time, you'll know what you have remaining because you've completed the Canalino project and the Liso TKK building project.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that, because I'm just going down the list in my mind of all the different sites and things we have that desperately need love and maybe even complete do-overs compared to what we have available. And how does that work between the board and the oversight committee? What is that?
Sure. The Oversight Committee does not make any decisions about how the money is spent. Their job is to ensure that the board votes and the Measure U team that's working with it is spending the money on what the voters voted for, right, which is facilities. So they're just reviewing the expenditures.
Okay.
I mean, they're monitoring the expenditures. They are not making any decisions about how to spend that money in terms of priorities for facility renovations.
Okay,
Okay.
thank
And
you.
just to follow up on that for the public record, consider us like the auditors. We're making sure that the money is being spent on the sites that it was earmarked for. And then we visit the sites and check on, the quality of the building or the improvements that are being done as well. So it's not, it wouldn't be for a new site, it would be for the existing sites for where it was earmarked.
And when this all began, I mean, before it was put before the voters, if you remember too, Andy, there were many community meetings where the public was asked to come forward with suggestions.
Right.
And a lot of the suggestions are the original list that,
Well, meetings were held at every site. They were
Yeah.
held, we had
Public.
numerous meetings here specifically for that. We had study groups.
Recall that started 10 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
So times have changed, which is
Right.
why they,
But it was voted on 10 years ago. I think it was started in 2012.
yeah.
more
it
than
was-
10, okay, I
no,
thought it was 2014.
It was
No,
quite
it
the
was-
process.
well,
yeah.
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 You were here, I was not, so.
Yeah, so it
Makes
it-
sense.
It's been it was a long.
It's a long
process.
And,
Yeah.
At the time, the thought was that we were very inclusive, but, that has not bared out totally. I mean, I think they did a pretty good job of identifying buildings and facilities that needed improvement or rehabilitation. But I think what your question is, the scope of the work, the scope of the bond was fairly broad, so that we can come back and if our priorities changed or if the population's changed and things like that, we, as a board, with community input, we can decide that we'd like to, work on a project that may not be specifically identified.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify that because those types of questions come up. Thank you, Jen. Those types of questions come up by community members, and so we're not necessarily locked to the future projects. The projects we're working on, obviously, those are happening, but the future projects, if the priorities shift or change, there's an opportunity for that to be addressed.
Right, and it'll probably be another 2 years before we address it.
Yeah, because we need to see where
the TKK building needs
we
to be
need
completed.
these projects to finish that are currently going out. Okay. Thank you for indulging me in that. Okay. Public comment on G2 Measure U update. Please step up to the podium.
I do want to reflect on some of the comments that were said just now, because I was part of one of the Measure U committees that met and worked to decide how, the site was going to be decided for family school. I have to say, it was a great process while we were in it, but ultimately, all of the things that, we decided along with the superintendent, they were all thrown out the window, and, different things happened. And, I found that highly discouraging. And, that really made me check out of, any school involvement for a long time. I kind of feel the need to come back a bit now because, I don't have a son, in school anymore, and I'm able to say some of the things that I felt that I couldn't say, back then. And that is one thing that has happened. I've had other people say similar things. Regarding the sale of the Baylord farm, I just want to let you guys know that has created a great big debacle for us to deal with, because now the county of Santa Barbara is coming in and trying to put a 3-story, huge, horrific thing on there. So now we're embroiled in a big fight to try to stop that from happening. Hopefully, there's only like one way in and out. So, that's going to cause, people to get burnt up if there's like a wildfire or whatever. So maybe that'll, dissuade them from building this. But it is an issue. I'm glad that the funds are going towards, making schools better. But, there are the Measure U process wasn't as rosy as we're talking about it. I'm just telling you my experience. And, I'm super thrilled with all the updates and everything that we have done. It's beautiful, wonderful stuff and so forth. I'm sorry that Carpinteria Family School didn't get the what they were originally promised. That's sad. But, that's just how things go. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you for that. That's really helpful to hear that viewpoint. Any further public comment?
Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. Probably a month and a half ago or so, the city gave a report regarding the Baylor farm. Yes, I think it's gonna be done, but not yet. It's not official yet. Now, what's happening now? Yes, the Sonora County Board of Supervisors approve the rezoning of the Baylor farm, but still now this is going to the Coastal Commission. When? Nobody knows. 3 months, been 3 months, 6 months, a year, who knows? But my point is that the sale is not official yet. Thousands of people have written letters. There's a pretty strong legal coalition regarding actually trying to save the Baylor farm. This is what's happening. For example, the supervisor in Santa Maria or Lompoc, they read the maps, regulations of the Baylor farm, but they have never been to the site itself and see the consequences of it. Pollution, safety, traffic. Right now, try to find a parking space anywhere. You can find it. Maybe after an hour, but no now. So that's the main issue that thousands of people at those condo complexes are worried about, and they're letting everyone know. So now it's up to the Coastal Commission. But now, money-wise, yes, it's good. The sale is good, but for the people, don't.
Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.
Any further public comment? Okay, seeing none. May I get a we are not, nope, this is just an update. Okay. No action. Thank you. Okay, so we are moving on to G3, contract with Fonder Solari for construction management services for Measure U projects. The board is asked to approve the agreement with Fonder Solari Management and Consulting. Fonder Solari will be working as part of the Measure U team, replacing the current vacant positions of project manager and planning specialist. District office accounting staff will be taking on all clerical duties of the planning assistant positions. Construction manager Scott Bronsma from Fonder Solari will be assigned to CUSD. The hourly rate of compensation is $139 with an estimated total not to exceed $280,224 annually and will be paid with Measure U funds. Any questions from the board? We've used Fonder Solari in the past. I recognize the
Yes.
name. Okay.
Yeah, this is, currently, we're in contract the past
Currently.
year.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I know this
It's the
name.
same
and
contract.
It's the same.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just making sure. Okay. No other questions? Okay, public comment on G3. Please step up to the podium and ensure the green light is on. Thank you.
Okay, as I mentioned, the union has generally not spent much time on the oversight of the Measure U fund and projects. Our confidence in those involved, commensurate with the extensive other oversight mechanisms, has left us more confident in how that money is being spent. When we have such oversight, we see a much more efficient expenditure of money, and Measure U is an example of that. However, this evening's agenda item G3 compels our attention and perhaps should compel the attention of the community. We have several questions. We are concerned that absent a more thorough explanation or a better understanding of this topic, we are looking at another example of outsourcing to outside contractors what could otherwise be duties or positions for district administrative positions. Given the exodus of administrators and the challenges CUSD is having recruiting new talent, it seems valuable to better understand what exactly is happening here. The district is now hiring a firm and contractor who will address the workload of the previous, quote, project manager and planning specialist for an estimated total not to exceed $280,224 annually. So questions, was that project manager and planning specialist a single position or was it two positions? And why is it or why are they now also open? At the same time, we're seeing so many other administrative resignations in the district. At $280,000 plus annually, it appears that this new position, if it is one position, it appears that this new position has the potential of being the most expensive single position in the district, paid near the annual amount comparable to the superintendent's salary, adding in all the unique financial benefits associated with the contract. Perhaps they're being paid more than the superintendent, which might be why you're laughing. Yeah. So again, it still makes one wonder then what's going on, right? Similarly, in the details shared with the community this evening, administration clarifies that, quote, district office accounting staff will be taking on all clerical duties of the planning assistant positions. Are these clerical duties of the planning assistant positions in addition to the previous duties of the district office accounting staff? Do we know that? Is there an answer to that? Or is this what they have already been doing all along? Are these new positions? Are they new duties being passed on to others? The union has certainly a very specific interest in this detail because if the clerical duties of the planning assistant position fundamentally change the workload of any classified district office accounting staff,
Thank you. Your
it would
time
be
is
important
up.
to be proactive about making
Thank
sure
you.
that
Your
we
time is up.
are gonna be
Please
impacting
conclude
those decisions.
speaking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Again, it is not respectful to the other people, public commenters, who did respect the time constraint of 3 minutes. Please stop speaking once the beeping starts. Okay.
I'd like to approve make a motion to approve the contract with Fonder Solari.
Sorry, hang on a second. Any further public comment? Okay, thank you. We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. Okay, discussion? Okay. So,
Position has been in place since Measure. This position has been in place since Measure U was voted in by the public. There's always been somebody that's overseen this. There was a whole building at the district office that was dedicated to
Yeah,
Measure U.
we had it it was in-house for a while. There was quite a staff there.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago, we determined that we would be better served by the actual construction manager companies.
Yes.
And so we hired a company to do Summerlin, and it was much more successful. And then we took in some in-house responsibilities with restructuring our staff, and we've been doing that for the last 3 years. So this contract was in place last year for the new projects, and we're recommending that it continue for this year.
Thank you for that. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wonderful. Approval of change order number 1 and number 2, Catalina Learning Center with McGillivray Construction, Inc. The board is asked to approve change order number 1 and number 2 for the Catalina Learning Center. On April 9th, 24, the board awarded the GMP in the amount of $1,473,908.74 to McGillivray Construction, Inc. for the Catalina Learning Center. The project requires change order number 1 and number 2 for core 1, 2, and 4, which includes relocating existing underground electrical conduits and communication cabling, the removal of extra asphalt concrete paving of thickness exceeding amount included during bidding, and soil stabilization, building pad dewatering, and grading scope change. Change order number 1 is in the amount of $80,261.25, and change order number 2 is in the amount of $106,795.11, which will bring the contract sum to $1,660,965.10 paid with Measure U funding. These changes are within the project contingency allocation. Any questions from the board? Okay. Public comment on G4. Okay, seeing none. May I get a motion to approve?
I move.
Move to approve.
I second that.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to H, personnel. H1, personnel summary. The board is asked to approve the following recommended personnel items: assignments of 2 personnel, resignations of 2 personnel, retirement of 1 personnel, release and probation, 1 personnel. Any questions from the board on the personnel summary? Okay. Public comment on H1. Please step up to the podium at this time and just make sure the green light is on.
So the current personnel report is an affirmation of the data that union leadership has shared at several previous meetings. 46 employees as of today leaving the district and 12 being hired in the last 6 months. Earlier this evening, district leadership referred to the exodus of district personnel as if it is a positive. Our esteemed leaders spoke of how fortunate we were to have such significant attrition that it has covered the reduction of COVID monies. Otherwise, we would have, quote, had to pursue layoffs. However true the extraordinary rate of employee resignations has been for minimizing otherwise necessary layoffs, perhaps it is time to consider what is at the root of these extraordinary rates of resignation. This culture of special education administrative negligence has already caught up with the CUSD, having extreme challenges at elementary, middle school, and the high school. The middle school, for example, where just this year alone, no less than 7 or 8 possibly special education teachers have resigned from the middle school. Although the district is working on rehiring in the sped vacuum that's now Carpinteria Middle School, where only 1 of 5 positions is filled with an employee who worked with CUSD last year, the same challenges that led to all those resignations remain. This in an environment where we are not anticipating huge reductions in COVID monies and where we're hoping to keep employees rather than see them flee. It seems important to figure out how to resolve the exodus of employees before the reductions in our finances can't keep up with the exodus of district employees. Not to beat a dead horse, but based on the district's personnel data during the last 6 months, the period just before the resignation of Human Resource Director Zapata, CUSD confirmed that there have been, again, 12 new employees hired and 46 employees leaving, 30 of whom voluntarily left the district. 12 classified support staff, 12 teachers, and 6 administrators, including Ms. Fitzgerald. And again, Ms. Rigby will be the only senior administrator who began the 23-24 school year, remaining at the start of the 24-25 school year. One would think that you must be scratching your heads about what is behind these resignations, and perhaps it's a good time to start looking at it. Okay, thank you.
Any further public comment on the personnel summary? Okay. May I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
I just want to say, well deserved. I am very sad to see Karen Parker retiring. Again, much deserved after many, many years with the district and service to so many students, even when they aren't in her own classroom. She was instrumental in helping get the DLI program up and running and created even. And so I hope we have the opportunity at a future meeting to.
Yes, she couldn't come tonight, so we've scheduled it for the August meeting where she can attend.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Wonderful. H2, AB 1200, public disclosure for the 24-25 salary increases for non-represented employees. In accordance with AB 1200, AB 2756, and GC 3547.5, public school districts must bring a disclosure of proposed bargaining agreement to the board for approval. The agreement outlines the terms of the agreement, costs, and future year impact. The board is asked to approve the 24-25 salary increases for all non-represented employees, including certificated administrators, psychologists, classified managers, classified supervisors, and confidential employees. Classified management salary schedule extended from Step 6 to Step 10. Certificated management salary schedule extended from Step 6 to Step 10. Supervisory and confidential salary schedule increase by 2%. The total of the costs of the 24-25 salary increases for all non-represented employees is $167,707 and will be paid from general funds, restricted funds, and other funds. Any questions from the board?
So just to be clear, that any employee covered by the step increase will not be getting the 2% salary increase on top of that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. The reason why we're proposing this is we are competitive with Ventura County and Santa Barbara County for our management salaries, and they are a little bit lower than most of the districts in both of those counties. And so in order to attract and retain high-quality administrators, we needed to look at our salary schedules. And so that's why we, in exchange for a COLA for that group, we just extended the salary schedule. So just like teachers have steps, more than 6 steps, and their steps are about 3%, the administrators' steps are also about 3%.
And then also, I believe, let's see here. Yeah, so this is our, we get told we need to be paying people, including teachers, but paying administrators because leadership is what matters. It's top down, can be bottom up, but this is also, we need to be competitive again for the area we're in. And when we're competing against Santa Barbara, Montecito, Cold Springs, and Ventura, we can't necessarily. We can't. So we have to get as close as we can. And I believe this is a fair and equitable way, especially considering for some of the positions, they're maxed out, and they get maybe a stipend, but that does nothing for their long term. It doesn't go into retirement for them. And so I believe we are removing a stipend for a couple of these, and
For 2 positions. Yes.
And they are getting the steps, which will then go towards retirement instead of essentially empty calories, if
Yes.
you will, to some degree. I mean, it's valuable money, and I'm not making light of that, but the fact that it has more value when it's part of the actual salary schedule, I think that's important to point out the reasoning behind that and the intention with that, and also that it is a 2% COLA for those that are getting. Correct?
No, it's 2% COLA for the supervisory and confidential
for the
salary.
yes,
Because
thank you.
their salary schedule is already extended.
Right.
They
that's
already
right.
have the
So
steps.
for the ones not getting the additional steps, it's a 2%.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is for next school year, 24-25.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Any further questions? Nope. Okay. Public comment on H2, AB 1200 public disclosure of salary increases for non-represented employees. Please step to the podium now.
Alrighty, appreciate the clarification, Mr. Schaefer, on those getting the 2% won't be getting the step-in column. So it would be helpful to know what the step-in column reflects. We still believe it is about 2 to 3% of an increase for those people who are not getting the 2%. That our district leaders, though, sit here and discuss this with straight faces, knowing that they made this decision and announced this decision even before our last bargaining session, is somewhat amazing. And the faculty and support staff we represent feel the same way, let me tell you. It is helpful to know that those getting the 2% increase won't be getting the step-in column and vice versa. But why doesn't that same logic, the exact same logic that you just shared, Ms. Rigby, that we need to increase salary schedules to be a more attractive district to employees, to more fairly compensated employees, why doesn't that apply to faculty and support staff?
We have numerous
2%,
applications for staff. We don't for administrators.
We clearly don't. We clearly don't. And it would be great to see all those numerous applications after we're hiring people with no hiring panels and interviews. Okay. Nonetheless, okay, why doesn't that logic apply? Again, CUSD admin make approximately 2% more than the state average, while teachers make approximately 2% less than the state average, and our classified colleagues make even less than their state counterparts, even less than that compared to their state counterparts. In what world does that seem equitable? This increase provides great insight into our current district leadership's priorities. Again, where district administrators provided last July 2023 a 5% increase to administrators and non-represented staff, and now they're before even resolving the salary increases for faculty and support staff for the same period. You're already off to make sure that you start the next school year with more increases. So I earlier said between 9 and 10. It looks like it'll just be a flat 7%. That's still a flat 7% increase when you're telling district staff that you were going to offer them 1%, Mr. Schaefer, 1%. We have the records. We'd be happy to share them with you, okay? 1%. And then when you upped your proposal, you upped it to 2%, okay? In the same period that you've offered administration 7%, okay? Why is that? And why isn't the salary increase for faculty and support staff budgeted in the budget? Again, this is the single largest area of financial cost for the district, right? Who doesn't budget for the single largest area of, do you do that in your businesses also? Or you don't budget for your single largest costs?
Thank you. Your time is up.
Kind of ridiculous.
So,
Remind
thank you, your
everyone,
time is up.
last year, I do believe the teachers' salary increases were 8% and classified were 10%.
Correct.
Yes.
On top of step and column.
On top of step and column.
Yep.
So if you want to compare the increases, I think you need to share all the information.
And then I would also again, we are competing with Ventura and Santa Barbara County mostly, and so while we are still, even with this, under significantly, but the difference in these increases compared to the represented increases is we can do this now, and we would love to have done this now for our staff as well. And we're not able to because we can't just do it. And I'd love, I mean, I've talked with several members of staff from multiple school sites, and I'd love. I talk to friends who are from other districts in Northern California, and they do their bargaining in the spring for the following year. They're not doing it for the year that they're already doing it. And while we started sort of last fall, I still would love to get us to a place where we are not bargaining for the year that we're in, that we are bargaining for the upcoming year, because I don't believe it's fair and to the employees to do that. And so with a group of employees that we can do that with, that's what we're doing. And we do budget. We put in the impact of what 1% of a raise is for our represented employees, so that number can then be extrapolated. It does change throughout the year as the budget changes. And so that is a placeholder. Maureen,
So
did you want to?
we don't budget
We don't budget, sorry.
salary increases.
We show what it is.
The AB 1200 process that we have tonight before the board for the non-represented group is outlined in AB 1200 and all the statutes that are in this form. This document has to go to the county 10 days before approval for them to vet it and say it's affordable. So you never it has never been a practice, nor has it ever been a practice, to estimate COLAs in any budget. They have to be approved by the county. They have to be certified through the AB 1200 process here at the board. And then, why you see this increase-decrease column and then the required revisions in the back of this form, then at the next budget revision, they actually go into the budget. So because this action is taking place after we have adopted our budget and had the document already published, this will be in your September revised budget. And in the event any other negotiations are settled, they will follow the same process. This has to go to the board 10 days before you vote on the settlement with cost analysis. Then it gets approved by the board, and then it gets put into the budget as a revision. This is calling out what it will cost and how you have to revise the budget.
Thank you. I misspoke with what
That's
I was
okay.
intending. So thank you for clarifying that. And I was speaking more so about the represented versus the unrepresented. We do show what the cost of a 1% is. It's not in there, and we can't put that in there because it's negotiated, because we don't know what that's going to be ultimately. And as much as I dislike the games of negotiations, to say right at the outset what your essentially strategy is not how negotiations work. I wish it was as simple as, hey, this is where we're at. Hey, this is where we're at. This is what we got. This is what we have to work with. Great, let's figure this out. We're not in a place where that can happen. So we start by showing the impact of a 1% and what that number is, and then math has to happen from there. Okay. Moving on to the next public comment.
Yeah, I just want to understand this. I have a question. What is, how does Carpinteria, with these salaries, how does it compare to the Ventura district and the Santa Barbara district?
For administration, they're lower. The daily
Yes.
rate is lower.
Okay, they are lower and.
We're lower. We
Oh,
are than
how
Ventura
much?
Unified and Santa Barbara.
How much lower are we? I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah, I don't have that at the top of my head, but I can get it for you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's the question. Yeah. I understand where everyone is coming from. I just hope that you get the teachers' negotiation completed and, make that happen. I know you guys have it in you. Go do it. Get it done. Let's get our teachers paid. Thank you.
Thank you. And I agree. And sometimes you need a third party to help make it happen. And so that's where we're at. Okay. Any further public comment? Let's see. One more.
Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. The budget is the hardest thing to understand, to negotiate. That's what I've seen. And like, for example, Santa Barbara Unified School District just approved a 10% increase for their teachers, with a 5% after that, another 5% plus benefits. And I think that the goal of our district should be not only keep the teachers happy with a good salary, but keep the students up to a high quality of learning and teaching. And so many resignations, there should be a reason for that. Could be salary, could be inflation in our city, could be something that probably attitude, or just they want to make a change. And that's not good for the students, because after a year or two of getting to know the educational system with the teacher, then he or she, they move out. And that interrupts their learning, and we should try to avoid that. And I think that this is the same problem I think that forever, keeping the teachers in Carpinteria. I think that we have the power to change this, and please do it. Do it for the students. Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe that's just why we offered and settled on 10 and 8% last year. And we can't really compare to what Santa Barbara is doing this year, because they're being essentially mandated to do so because they had an error in how they were handling things. And so this is the result of that. But also they're going to have completely maxed out class sizes, my understanding, and layoffs. And so there's a balance that I believe we are trying to strike onto, of we want our teachers to be able to live where they want to live, whether it's here in Carpinteria or somewhere else. We recognize that there is finite resources, housing, and therefore the cost goes up, whether it's proportional or not. And if we increase or overstep on what we can do financially, then either we get a negative certification, meaning we fall below our mandated minimum reserve balance, or we're doing layoffs and maxing out class sizes. And so this is not easy, and we are working hard to strike that balance between everything. And I believe our commitment to that is shown by adding school board members to the negotiations team to do that, which is not what this agenda item is necessarily about, because this is about unrepresented employees. So we are asked to approve the 24-25 salary increases for all non-represented employees, including certificated administrators, psychologists, classified managers, classified supervisors, and confidential employees. May I get a motion to do so?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 24-25 management salary schedule revisions. The board is asked to approve the adjustments for both certificated and classified management salary schedules. California is experiencing an overwhelming need for experienced and qualified senior management candidates for an unprecedented number of job openings statewide. Tenuous collective bargaining climates, funding challenges, and the complexity of public school management create significant obstacles in attracting and retaining top-tier senior management talent in California's public schools. Management salary schedules have been modified to reflect current salary demands. Certificated management salary schedule adds steps 7, 8, 9, and 10. Classified management salary schedule adds steps 7, 8, 9, and 10. The cost of both schedules with additional steps is $89,138. Any questions from the board? Okay, public comment.
Okay, so once again, we can now read in the agenda the same idea that Superintendent Rigby just expressed verbally, that CUSD is expressing significant obstacles to attracting and retaining, in this case, top-tier senior management talent in California's public schools, and that management salary schedules have been modified to reflect current salary demands. Do these salary demands and these the challenges to bring in top-tier educators and support staff not apply, Ms. Rigby? Do they not apply?
It does apply, and the good news is we have a number of applicants for our staff openings. We don't have a number of applicants for our top-tier administrative openings.
We still are struggling to see all these applicants. We had incredible challenges last year with people leaving quicker than we could fill positions. And now you're kind of recreating history here with that comment, but it is your prerogative. Ms. Diamond stated that there is a balance, and so we're wondering, you said there's a balance. We got to, and we agree with you. You got to strike a balance, right? Nobody's trying to bankrupt the district here. We don't believe you necessarily are, and we certainly aren't. So we wonder, is providing admin a 7% increase in the last 12 months while providing employees first offering 1 and then going so far as to offer 2 in the same period what you call a balance? Is that your version of a balance? Yeah, exactly. And we have 0 for last year and 0 for this year at the moment. But you did offer 1, and then you offered 2. You raised it to 2 for last year in the same period that you've given administrators 7%. Okay? You stated that you wished the bargaining process could begin and end in the spring of each year, and that only happens when both sides are willing to land on reasonable numbers. You then stated that oh, yes, you then stated that, where are we here? I'm sorry. Oh, you then stated that we began bargaining in the autumn, and that was one reason why we didn't get to an agreement. With all due respect, we started bargaining last year in April 2023. We began our bargaining session in June. Our first sessions were in June of 2023, and then we met again in July of 2023. And that's when the district began the unilateral cancellation of 11 of 14 bargaining sessions. Yet now we listen to you telling the public that you really wanted to get it done in the spring and that we didn't start till the autumn. So, I mean, with all respect, you simply either don't know what you're talking about or you are willfully misleading the public. And I have to hope that it's the first, but neither one bodes well for the conversations ahead as we go into impasse and into the future. You've been at this for 4 years, and you're still making these fundamental mistakes and
Your time
making
is up.
inaccurate comments. Thank you.
Fundamental. Okay. Any further public comment? Okay. May I get a motion to approve the adjustments to both certificated and classified management salary schedules?
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, board announcements. Anybody? No, nothing? I would like to just say that we've had a great partner over the years with Chevron Community Investments, especially with Sarah Dearman, who has led that program for our area. And she is relocating to Colorado. And I just want to take the opportunity to thank her for the investments that Chevron has made. And she has very intentionally and deliberately set in place for our students here in Carpinteria, the impact that their donations and their support will last for decades. Kids every day when they're in our classrooms are picking up something or using something or working with something that that can be tied back to Chevron in one way or another along the different programs that they've helped fund. So thank you, Sarah, and we're excited to meet your predecessor, Mark, and work with him moving forward. And then I would also, let's see here. Oh, there is a program coming in July for special ed youth. There's a program called Fish for Life, and it offers a free, really amazing all-day experience for special needs youth ages 8 to 21. And if you go to fishforlife.org, I believe, there are spots available for this event on July 20th. It'll be in Santa Barbara. It is free for the youth and their families to attend, and people can check out more information. It's a day of on the water and fishing, and it's a really cool program. This is the first year. It'll be in Santa Barbara, and I'm excited to be a part of that. So Fish for Life is the organization, and if you're interested in either volunteering or having your student or your child participate, please look them up.
Jamie. Maureen, I just want to thank you. You've done a great job. It's been wonderful working with you. Your reports are so clear and precise, and it makes it easy to read a lot of the information that we get. So thank you, and good luck in your new position.
Thank you. Yep, getting to that. Thank you, Maureen. This is your last Carpinteria Unified School Board meeting. You have been incredibly helpful and wonderful to work with as a board member and as a community member over the years, even before I was up here when I had questions. You were really helpful to answer and just be friendly with, and I've really appreciated getting to know you over the years. So thank you very much. Okay, no other board announcements? Okay, moving on to the board calendar. I actually have a change that I need to, I'd like to make a motion to the calendar. We need to cancel the July meeting. We will not have a quorum, unfortunately, nor staff available for that meeting. So that was the July, I want to say 9th. Yes, July 9th. We need to cancel that, and along with that, we need to also reschedule the Williams Valenzuela report, quarterly report, to a future meeting. Or I guess the next meeting would be August 13th. Okay.
You just need to do one action. Just all you need to do is to cancel July 9th,
Okay.
that vote. And then the
We'll just automatically
yes,
get
we'll
moved.
report on it on August 13th.
Okay. So I make a motion to cancel the July 9th regular board meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And K, future agenda items. Any questions from the board on governance workshop or the 24-25 staffing report? No? Okay. Public comment on K, future agenda items.
So in the same vein as the board's justification for raising administrative salaries while they exceed state averages, while offering faculty and support staff less than 29% of that same increase for the same period, while they are making 2% less than state averages, the union believes that this logic applies to board member performance also. The logic of if you really want to get performance out of people, you've got to look at how are you going to increase compensation. Not all the time, but over the long term, most certainly. We don't mean you harm, and we just want to see you significantly perform better. And it's with that in mind that union leadership encourages the district to follow the leadership that has been demonstrated at the city council level on the topic of remuneration. Union leadership is once again encouraging the placement of remuneration on the upcoming board agenda. And I'm going to reread again for, I believe, the third meeting in a row, since we really have never seen one topic that we've brought forward here ever make it to a board agenda. I'm going to, stay at it. We're going to stay at it. We have hope for you. I'm going to reread a statement that we've made now for years and in the last board meetings. It would be great to hear a board-level discussion about its efforts, if they exist, to recruit and identify a more diverse leadership team to serve in either senior leadership positions in the administration or at the school board level. Union leadership again encourages the board to consider and include in this discussion the possibility of remuneration for school board members. That is, some form of transparent compensation for school board members. Some questions that could be asked. Why did the CUSD school board cancel compensation for CUSD board members, and is this practice one that best serves the district and the community? We would say it is not, and it has not. Could there be a stipend or access to reduced health care package or some form of remuneration to encourage board members to invest the time required to better understand the work, the opportunities, and the challenges experienced in the teaching and learning environment? Just like educators and support staff need better compensation so that they may avoid the distractions that come with economic instability, union leadership believes that school board trustees should also receive some form of transparent compensation to provide them the time and the resources sacrificed when they perform their duties with diligence and competence, not with anger and contempt. Although many in the community would be proud to apply their expertise to matters of CUSD, not all have such an abundance of time and resources to provide at no cost to the community. We here are the fortunate ones, aren't we? We truly are. I recognize that. Do you? There may be many more talented people. In fact, we're sure there are talented, intelligent, and large-hearted people in the community.
Thank you. Your
that
time
would
is up.
prefer
Please
to do this job.
Please respect
if
the
they
time.
only could afford
Please
to.
respect
Thank you.
the time.
I would second the suggestion to consider payment for board members. That way, we can potentially draw a bigger pool of people to apply for and run for, the school board. I know that it's been mentioned before that, city council, they do a lot more, they have all these meetings, and they have more time. But, the budget that city council manages is less than half of what the school budget is. I mean, this is a significant deal. I mean, this is really big. And it would be great if, we allow people to be able to, run for school board and, get a better representation of, draw from a bigger pool. If you don't want the money, that's fine. You guys don't have to take it. You can say, it's not for me. I'm doing this for the love of the kids. And, I'm here because I want to serve the kids. And, I want you to put that money towards something else that's more, worthwhile. You don't have to take it. So I encourage you to add that to the, next agenda. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? On future agenda items specifically?
Rogelio Delgado, Carpinteria resident. think that we should put on the agenda next month, in 2 or 3 months, or even 6 months, but the Brown Act. What it is. I've been to this governance workshop. They go through it. I've read it. What about the community? Should we, on a future agenda item, we should inform the community, okay, this is the Brown Act. This is the rules and regulations of school board members, and this is what you can do as a community member, and this is what you cannot do. It says right there that board members are supposed to be there, listen, and if they take a hard hit, take it. It's right there. It's written. You're not supposed to react. You're not supposed to show it on your facial expression. No, just accept it as it is. It's right there. It's in the Brown Book. Read it. Or as a board member yourselves, you can come to the podium right now, any one of you, and it's right there in the Brown Book. You can do it as a private citizen, not as a board member. It's right there. Just read it. So many things out there, what you can and what you cannot do. Same thing with the community. This is what you can do and what you cannot do. So just follow through. Thank you.
Thank you. And I actually already have that written down. A Brown Act workshop is something that happens every couple of years, and I already had it written down there. As a future agenda item that I was just going to bring up with Diana to put on, and I think the discussion would be before or after the election instead of doing another one post-election if there's turnover. But that would also probably be covered in a governance workshop, I would imagine.
Yes, typically after the elections, we will do a governance workshop, so that'll be in January. And part of the discussion is the Brown Act, so I think we can plan for that in January.
I apologize. My daughter is out of the country, and I'm getting a phone call right now from her, and I need to take this. Okay. We're adjourned.